Hello. This is our first live recording, and I thought to sit out so that we could get the video out to you faster for these post-game reviews. It's something new we're trying. If you like it, let us know in the comments. It can take some time when we record the video, do a little bit of editing, touch it up. It just adds time. So we thought it'd be nice to try some a live stream to get this content out to you pretty quick. It's not going to be as polished, but I guess our regular content isn't super polished either way. So let us know what you think. So the Jazz, they played the Phoenix Suns tonight. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone. Good New Year. I'd mix up with languages, but today's New Year's Eve. It was the New Year's Eve game, I guess, against the Phoenix Suns. And I thought this was a big game because looking at the starting lineups between the two teams, they actually looked pretty similar. And I felt like the Suns were a little bit of a wild card. Because the Suns, they have Devin Booker, which we know he can put up points, but we don't know if he's a superstar. They have Chris Paul, who we know is an amazing point guard, but we don't know how much he has left in the tank. They have DeAndre Ayton, who is a young center, and we really haven't seen much from him yet to really know like whether he's going to be a star player or just a solid starter. So I think the Suns team could really overperform this season, and we'll see. They've had a great start. I think they're at 4-1 after this game, after them beating the Suns. But then looking at the Jazz roster, like it matches up pretty well. DeAndre Ayton to Rudy Gobert. I like that matchup. It's I know that was going to be fun to watch. Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Chris Paul. Obviously, Chris Paul's on a different level than Mike Conley, but like they're both all-star caliber point guards, kind of past their prime, so maybe not quite all-star caliber anymore. So when I was looking forward to this game, I thought it'd be really fun. They both have interesting benches, both the Jazz and the Suns. So I thought it'd be a good game overall, and the Jazz just kind of disappointed me a little bit. I didn't see any like obvious huge mistakes that the Jazz made. My main issue that I would bring up is that at certain points throughout the game, the Jazz just didn't look like they had energy, especially on the defensive end. But that carries over. Like good defense turns into good offense, and when they were going through those kind of scoring droughts, they didn't bring much on the defensive end. They were a little bit slow getting to their man, which gave the Suns more open shots. I saw this a little bit in the second quarter when the Suns really beat up the Jazz pretty bad in the second quarter. And in the first half of the fourth quarter, which I would imagine the Jazz would come in, and that's when you really want to play. To close out the game, I think the Jazz did pretty good. They got their energy back. They started hitting shots. But when it's the last 4 minutes of a game and you're down by double digits, I don't know what you're supposed to do. However much energy you can bring, there's, I don't know. It's tough to come back from that. So a little too little, a little too late, right? But looking at some trends that the Jazz had in previous games that I saw, all the games before the Suns game, I felt like the Jazz had a really bad start. They came in, they normally lost the first quarter as far as the end they were down. They came out, they were kind of tentative. They didn't want to shoot. It took the bench unit to come out to really kickstart the offense a lot of times. Tonight, that didn't happen. So that's a good sign, even though this was a loss. It's a positive we can bring from it. Donovan Mitchell came out aggressive, which he hasn't in past games this season. We only have a sample size of 3, so I don't know what we can take from it, but this is all we have, so this is what I'm going to talk about. He came out aggressive. I think he had 6 points really quick, like in the first half of the first quarter, which I thought was awesome. I wanted to see more of that because I think having the offense run through Donovan Mitchell is huge for this team. Not only he's an okay shooter, so he can spread the floor a little bit, but he's really strong at being able to drive to the basket. And how this Jazz roster is set up is with Mitchell with the ball in his hands, driving to the basket. He has Gobert there as a lob threat, and he has several shooters surrounding him that can be on the 3-point line. And he's dangerous enough, guard like driving to the rim, that he's going to suck the defense in. Obviously, his man comes in. Obviously, the center who's guarding Gobert will normally step up, and you might have other defenders take a step or two closer towards the paint, leaving either Conley or Ingles or Bogdanovich, someone out there who can hit the three, a little bit more open. So I liked seeing that. I don't think obviously, it didn't make big enough of a difference. What I think was, I don't know if this was the Suns' strategy coming in, but I don't know if it's Mitchell coming in strong or the Suns wanted him to come in strong. Because Mitchell, as great as he is, and as confident as he is, which I love, sometimes when you're good, you have an off night, but you still have to stay confident. And I like that. But that also leads to games like Mitchell had tonight, where if you look at his stats, there he was over 20 points. He had a pretty good game. But if you look at his efficiency, he was 8 for, I think he made 8 field goals for 23 out of 23, something like that. He was not effective. He was okay from 3. I'll take that game, but he was taking too many shots for what he was making, which for Donovan Mitchell, I think that's excusable. But if that happens every game, then it's going to be tough for the Jazz to win. And obviously, like, there's not like one obvious problem that the Jazz had of why they lost this one. I think shots just weren't falling. They had some energy issues at certain points of the game. So I think, I don't know how much I want to take away from this as far as what this tells us about the Jazz. If you want to take the pessimistic route, which I'm sure a lot of people will, because this is a game that the Jazz should have won. I thought this was a really important game because the Suns are a wild card, and if with this Jazz roster, I believe that they have the potential to be that 2-3 seed in the West. And if you're not beating out teams like the Suns, who are wild cards, if they have an incredible season, I wouldn't be too shocked if they came out like with a 3rd seed in the West. Even with how difficult the West is, that Suns team could surprise a lot of people this year. A best case scenario for them. But still, the Jazz, worst case scenario, should at least be on the same level as the Suns, and they really let this one slip. Lost in double digits. If taking the pessimistic route, does this mean that the Jazz are just going to underperform again? Obviously, we know where their potential is. We know where it can be because we've seen them play at their best last season for a stretch. They looked amazing. Granted, it was against not top teams, but still playing that level of basketball, they could have beat top teams when they get on a roll like that. Does this just mean that the Jazz are getting off to a rocky start and things will settle out down the road? I don't know. I'm not going to read too much into it. We're 4 games into the season, but it is a little concerning. I predicted them to come out hot. I thought they were going to, after the first 10 games, be 8-2. I knew they had some tough ones, but I thought they had what it took to win some of those tough games. And they have some games that they should have won, as in they have some easier ones coming up, but I think they definitely should have won this game against the Suns, and they should have won the one against the Timberwolves. That was a little more excusable. They just got off to a bad start, fought back, and had a bad mistake at the end to lose it, which sucks, but that's what happens. I don't think that their 2-2 record really shows how good they are, but it's not a good sign either. So I don't know what to take from it. Let me know if you have any super takeaways from this game. Obviously, the Suns were hot. Seeing Jay Crowder, he was hitting his shots, and that's what you have to deal with sometimes. Jay Crowder, he's one of those streaky shooters where sometimes he's on and he hits everything, sometimes he's off and misses everything. And the Jazz just caught him on a hot night, which is rough. And he wasn't like crazy good, but good enough that you can't leave him open with a lazy Jazz defense at times. The Suns took advantage of it. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game against the Clippers. I feel like there's been a lot of kind of switching around in the league where teams came in, you thought they were going to be amazing, but we don't know yet. It's only like 4 or 5 games into the season for most teams. The Clippers fell apart against the Mavericks. I'm not expecting that to continue for them for the season, but it definitely opened up some question marks of how good the Clippers are. So I'm curious to see how that Clippers game goes. Obviously, the Jazz have a lot of question marks as well, so maybe we'll get some answers in that game. Moving forward for the Jazz, I don't think a 2-2 start is going to have any huge implications for them long term. They're still pretty close to a playoff lock. Obviously, if some injuries come up, that might not happen with a shorter season, 10 games shorter. If you miss a key player like Gobert or Mitchell for any extended amount of time, that might change. And the West is just really deep that anything can switch around. But I'm still high on the Jazz. They're just getting off to a slow start, which is understandable, but a little disappointing at the same time. I don't know if I have too much more to add on this game. It was a rough one. The Jazz didn't play their best. That was not the best basketball we've seen them play all season, even in 2-2 start. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Let me know what you took away from it. I thought the Suns played great. The Jazz played good at times, but there are too many long stretches in the game that just kind of killed it. So rough one to take. Let's move on. I'm excited for that Clippers game, so we should have some post-game review for that one as well. But tune in for that one. It'll be great. And don't forget to hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep on putting up Jazz videos, post-game reviews, and we're going to start mixing up the videos that we have down the road. So any amount of support is much appreciated. So thank you for tuning in. That's going to be it for today, but tune in tomorrow for the Clippers post-game review.